So when you guys make it down to Nashville, the one store you got to visit is George Gruhn's vintage guitar store. It's in South Nashville off of 8th Street. It's a beautiful 3-story building. Can't miss it. It is heaven for a guitar player. Every vintage guitar you ever wanted to find is going to be in this store. Amazing assortment and selection. Each room has a different setup, either for archtops or acoustics or mandolins or ukuleles. I've spent probably 10 hours in the store just walking around, figuring out what I want to buy, what I want to play, and it's all here. I was lucky enough to get a tour with George and spend about 3 hours with him talking about the business and how I should approach getting into the business down here. He posed some interesting questions to me, and I thought I'd share that with you guys. The studio is amazing. Some very, very old guitars, very rare guitars. I essentially drooled walking around, from a 57 Les Paul Gold Top to a 1941 F-5 Mandoline. Everything in the store is playable and just beautiful. 55 Strat, 58 Esquire, just pick it up and play. 56 Les Paul Custom, gold tops. Everything you wanted to see, play, touch is here. The artistry on some of the guitars is just beautiful. The inlay, the time spent on some of the instruments in the store is amazing. One of my favorite guitars was this Martin guitar with bar frets. So instead of the standard frets, they're bar frets, no truss rod, so you straighten out the neck with the fret size. See the different banjos, different artwork, the inlay, just beautiful. You just don't see some of the same work on guitars these days. Look at that hand carving detail. All the little nooks and crannies that are perfect. So then up on the 3rd floor is where all the guitars come in and are logged. Hundreds of guitars needing work. All vintage instruments. Each Luthier has its own station with all the different tools needed for fretwork or basic repair. It's amazing to see Les Paul Custom sitting there. He also has a full woodworking shop to build stuff as needed. And then when you need a custom pickup rewound for a vintage guitar, you gotta do it yourself. And then all the stars come in, Steve Earle, Rick Nielsen. And then this was one of my favorite, 100-year-old Gibson K-5. Beautiful finish, sounded amazing. I think this might be it. I gotta sell one of my children. So maybe one day one of my guitars will eventually become a vintage guitar, other than just showing George some of my work. The 2 questions that George asked me when we went out to lunch was, number one, how am I going to compete with a company like Martin that produces more guitars each year, and each guitar they produce historically becomes more valuable? And then how do I create an instrument that is really unique and worthwhile to someone whose livelihood depends on this instrument? And so that actually gave me a lot of thought around how I'm going to create my business and what I'm going to do to create one-of-a-kind unique instruments. And so instead of producing bodies, my thought is to create really one-off unique instruments that are highly customized and really in tune with what that musician is looking for. So hope you enjoyed the tour, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next vid.